Welcome back to the Moisture Farm. I have to apologize for another hiatus. This time it was because I was moving, so I'm in a whole new setup. Finally got everything put together, and now I am back to some Star Wars Unlimited content. And there's just so much going on in this game right now. We have the whole Legends of the Force set released to us early, thanks to some some leaks, I guess. So we have every leader, every card out in the set. So you know what that means. It's time for another leader prediction tier list. Before I get into that, I thought it would be fun if I very, very briefly go over my predictions for Jump to Lightspeed and how they kind of panned out before we jump into a whole new set of predictions. So let's see how I did. So here's a still shot from my Jump to Lightspeed leader tier prediction video. I feel like I was mostly right. There's a couple of outliers. I won't cover it up. Poe Dameron is definitely not an S tier leader, although you do see like that leader pop up. Some Poe ECL, Poe Data Vault pops up every now and then, does okay. The upgrade hate that everyone was running competitively, I think, just poses a lot of issues, especially with Poe. Like he doesn't get that leader upgrade protection, or yeah. So didn't quite pan out the way I thought it was going to. Boba and Thrawn being in A tier, I think Thrawn is probably more like B tier, but Boba being in A tier, I think was pretty much right. Like the low A tier. Boba Yellow was a pretty legit deck, especially before the suspension with Triple Dark Raid. I mean, the only reason why that wasn't getting played was because Django was just like that much more broken. But Boba Yellow is still a good deck, and you still see it every now and then. It's like just on the cusp, usually like right outside of these other top contending decks. Piet kind of fell away pretty quick. Cheating out those big ships was not enough to be able to. I think Kira was like the most popular shell, right? Like similarly. Green blue villain, and I think Kira just outshined Piet way more with her leader flip ability and just as a control deck, and the Piet thermal oscillator deck where you were just trying to curve out perfectly into like devastators and stuff, ramp and devastator, all that just was not working as well. I think the hype around thermal oscillator definitely fell off. But Thrawn Data Vault, is another deck that you see popping up out there. I don't think it belongs in A tier, but still like a decent deck. Vader being the top of B tier, I think is like almost spot on, like maybe low A tier, just because of how much we're seeing him played competitively. But I do think like top of B tier is a safe thing to say, because you do see him a lot competitively, and top 8 quite a bit, but very few are able to like actually like pull through and win full tournaments. But a very common top 8. Phasma's wrong. There's just not enough first order support. Luke, I think, was the most. Like, Luke makes a lot of sense on paper, and I still like believe in Luke in limited format for this set extensively. But I think the most common shell you run him in is red green hero, and there are just with Sabine in the like still out there. She's always going to cast a shadow over red green hero. Wedge being in C tier, I think like pretty much every C tier deck list is correct. I think you can argue for Kaz being up higher, but like Kaz isn't winning anything. I was not very high on Kaz in before the set came out, and I got a lot of hate for that. But still low on this list maybe, but definitely didn't shoot as high as I saw a lot of people not agreeing with me on. And Akbar, Rose, and Lando, pretty much right on. So other than like a couple of swaps here and there, I think this is pretty much right. Phasma obviously needs to be lower. Pilot Han actually is starting to kind of ramp up a little bit with a couple of different builds. Can have some sneaky potential, and just like your deck filtering, being able to look at the top card of your deck, even if you're not getting that attack ability. I've seen double yellow or late country Han Pilot decks have decent play. And I guess the one thing you can say about this is Akbar did win a PQ, and for that reason probably should not belong in D tier. But that deck is an absolute savagery build, and congrats to the dude that pulled that off. All right, so now here are all 18 of our Legends of the Force leaders. Getting right into it, starting with Kylo Ren, a 7 deploy leader. Leader ability, action, exhaust, discard a card from your hand. If you discarded an upgrade this way, draw a card. Deploys on 7 for a 5/5. Is a Sentinel as a unit, 5/5 Sentinel. When deployed, play any number of upgrades from your discard pile on this unit, one at a time, paying their costs. I think this leader is just kind of a trap play. His leader ability sets up for his leader deploy, and with the current set of cards in rotation, that big deploy is extremely vulnerable. Any yellow deck, like Kylo flips, you put 3 lightsabers on him, bamboozle, now your 7 deploy leader is a 5/5 Sentinel. All of those lightsabers just go away. Assuming that's what, the kind of upgrades that you're discarding to like play onto him. But his leader ability just enables the leader flip, which is super vulnerable. I don't see this even being just like a shell to play control into. There's not very little control upside. But not against non-yellow decks, if they don't have any way to respond to Kylo like becoming this like 12/12 monster with upgrades and Sentinel, they're like, it's GG's. If they haven't like pulled ahead of damage, or if they can't just deal with that, kudos to you. You pulled it off. I think I'm gonna put Kylo as a C with that upside. I think like he's honestly probably pretty low with that. And next up, we got Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka getting another leader, getting some more love in Star Wars Unlimited. Her leader side ability, action exhaust, use the Force. Give a friendly unit Sentinel for this phase. Deploys on 6 as a 5/6. On attack, you may give a friendly unit Sentinel for this phase. Very unexciting. There's nothing. I mean, we've seen leaders that give Sentinel, or even just cards in general that give other things Sentinel, is just not. It has not shown to be very strong. The Force token is an interesting mechanic. Obviously, like, we're all trying to like figure this out. Now that we have the whole set, we can test this out. It seems like there are levels to what the Force token can do for you, and this seems like one of the weaker uses of a Force token. So I feel pretty confidently putting Ahsoka pretty far on the list. One of the bottom 3 or 4 leaders, I think, in this set, from what I can see. And next is Kanan Jarrus. This, I think, might be a little bit more exciting. Leader ability, action, pay 1 exhaust. Give a shield token to a creature or specter unit. As a unit, he deploys on 6 as a 3/6 shielded. While you control another creature or specter unit, this unit gets +2/+2. I think there's actually quite a bit of upside here. We've been shown a lot of beefy creature units in this set. And I think Kanan poses a bit of a mid-range threat. Depending on like what shell you play him in, I think you have access to some pretty good specter and creature units to combo this into. And these big like 4/10 creatures, if you shield them, they're just going to stick around for a while and either just help you control the board or just keep swinging into base and chipping away damage. And that shield you can put on at any time for the one cost. So you can double shield stuff if if you're playing under curve. And most of the time when Kanan flips, he's going to be a 5/8 creature or specter unit. So, ideally you are flipping on to the battlefield with at least one of those. So like 5/8 shielded on flip is a good body for 6, a good ability. If you run them in double blue, you've got the new Dune that just pumps up everything on the board. I think this can snowball and have a pretty nasty board presence. I'm going to go ahead and put him as the first leader that I think cracks the A tier. Spoiler alert, I'm not so confident that we're going to have any S tier leaders here, but I think Kanan has one of the more upsides than most of the leaders in this set. Now we have the Darth Maul new starter deck leader, spotlight deck, excuse me. Action, exhaust, use the force, deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a different unit. He deploys on 6 as a 5/6 with the ability on attack, deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a different unit. So, unit pinging, obviously. You need the force to use it as a leader ability. A 5/6 for 6 is not the most exciting stat line. As a leader, I don't think Maul really enables a lot of big swing plays. Also, this ability, his leader ability, damage to a unit and 1 damage to a different unit. So, if you're going up against any green villainy, it keeps you from, if there's a laser tech, obviously you're not going to want to deal damage to that. And because of that, you can't deal damage to the other one, right? If you want to keep the laser tech from, just getting that free resource, you pretty much, it keeps you from damaging any other unit on the board. So, nothing super exciting here. Just seems pretty average. I mean, against other decks, like I said, it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of swing plays here. I do feel like putting his lightsaber on him is, a pretty beefed up. I think he turns him into like a 9/12 or something that lets him attack right away. Could be, that is probably the only swing play I think he has access to. I don't think he's bad, overall. Certainly not exciting. I think he belongs in the C tier, which will probably, most of these leaders are probably going to end up being in C tier. And I think he belongs alongside there with everybody else. All right, we have the third sister, my least favorite Inquisitor, probably everyone's least favorite Inquisitor. Action, exhaust, play a unit from your hand. It gains hidden for this phase. And she deploys on 5 as a 5/4 with hidden on attack. The next unit you play this phase gains hidden. So, like I said, these are predictions, right? I have not really been able to test a whole lot of these leader abilities, nor have I really gotten to test the hidden mechanic. On paper, sounds pretty good against other mid-range and aggro. Giving stuff hidden, protecting them from ambush is, that's not bad. That there's some decent value to that, and it doesn't require you to use the force. You could just play that unit and it can't be ambushed, basically, or attacked by an existing unit. I see decent value in that. As a unit, the 5/4 stat for 5 is brutal. Obviously she has hidden, so you can't deploy and then just get your leader ambushed. But you she can deploy and get open fired. Or takedown, right? Super vulnerable body regardless of the hidden keyword. And for that reason, I think I think she just has to be C tier. because the upside, like this ceiling is like just kind of so, and the floor is very bad. So yeah, that seems like a pretty cut and dry C tier leader to me. And now we have the new Ray leader, who this leader makes absolutely no sense to me. Leader ability, action exhaust. If you played a non-unit force card this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. She deploys on 7 as a 6/8. When deployed, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we have so many 7-drop leaders. Maybe it's like to kind of like curve with like Data Vault and Colossus existing. I don't know. I mean, Colossus has not been super popular. Data Vault obviously super is. But like it feels like we got a lot of, or more than usual, like 7 deploy leaders. Raid, like the leader ability and the deploy ability have like no synergy. We've had a red hero deploy on 7 before with Mace that had a ping ability, and it was not good. With like this rare Ray unit, like if you draw a card if you draw her during the action phase, you get to like reveal it and ping base and ping unit. Discarding your hand to draw 2 cards. I mean, if your hand is dumped by the time she flips, you just get to draw 2 cards, and that could be pretty nice. And if you top deck the Ray unit, then you get a little bit of value out of that. And the 6/8 body is pretty big. But I don't know. I'm just not really seeing it with Ray. The 6/8 body is like worth consideration for that side. I mean, that's bigger than Vader. Like Vader unit, set 1 Vader is like a 5/8. So, bigger body for 7, I think gets consideration. I'm very tempted to put her like at the top of D tier, but I think she's gonna probably be at like the bottom of C tier. I don't know. I just don't get it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys can enlighten me, but at the moment, at least, I don't get this leader at all. We got a pretty interesting one next up here with Barriss Offrey. Action exhaust, use the force, play an event from your hand. It costs 1 less. She deploys on 6 as a 4/7. With action, use the force, play an event from your hand. It costs 1 less. I like that this leader exists. I think this was good to have. If to use other TCG terminology, a spell slinger deck where you're playing a ton of events and playing them for cheaper. I do think that the fact that you have to use the force can make this like kind of clunky. But like as a shell, like we've gotten a lot of like good like Inquisitor units in yellow villainy revealed. A lot of like Sith units and stuff to kind of, bolster your board, get like at least value units, and then, cheating out events, I think is okay. 4/7 for 6 is like, that's perfect. We all love 4/7s for 6. I don't know. I don't really know where the ceiling for this is, like cheating out event costs. I don't know. I think like, yeah, it seems like a pretty strictly mid-range strategy. And while I don't think she's good enough to crack the B tier, maybe, I think I'll start for now with like high C, high C. And depending on how the rest of this goes, I think maybe she gets bumped to like super low B. I think testing will show. I think like the 4/7 body for 6 is a good start. I think this is like a more valuable use of a force token than what other cards enable, with the force. So I think this is a wait and see one for sure. It's time for the new Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is as a leader, action, use the force, give an experience token to a unit without an experience token on it. And he deploys on 5 as a 3/6 on attack. You may give an experience token to another unit without an experience token on it. This feels like a very safe leader ability. A very, as far as like the use of the force token for this, I think the restriction on the fact that it has to go on something without an XP token is holding it back for me. I would have liked to see this like just give an experience token to something with the force. I don't know, maybe that's just like too broken, but I like what Obi-Wan has to offer for Hero Green. This kind of like what's already been established as like a go wide, with just like valuable statted units, and restore, and just having like a very, very wide board. I like how this kind of in that shell allows you to bring your board with you, if you know what I mean, where you're starting small and then he's just kind of spreading the love and keeping your board up. But it's definitely nothing game breaking. The fact that he can do that without the force on attack on his flip turn, 3/6 is not like the most exciting stat line. Like that's worse than Bosk, right? Bosk is a 5 deploy in villainy and he's a 4/6 with like a stupid broken ability. This feels like very, very safe. And I might get some flack for this, but I think this is just like the definition of C tier. It's just like, okay, I don't think it's going to enable anything super game breaking. It is going to be nice to be able to continue to give stuff experience, whereas like Rey, set 2 Rey kind of like caps you out for each unit. They have to like be 3 or less. Like the only condition for Obi-Wan is just that it can't have one already. So upside there. Overall, like I still think he's pretty safe. After much waiting, we finally have a Kit Fisto leader, and it's a leader, all right. His leader ability is action 1 exhaust. If you attacked with a Jedi unit this phase, deal 2 damage to a unit. That is not the worst ability I've ever seen. Doing 2 damage to something for 1, and there are very many ways to enable this ability, with ambushing and just your normal unit attacking. That ability is not horrible. What may be horrible, as a leader, he is a base 1/6 Saboteur, and this unit gets +1/+0 for each other friendly Jedi unit. So this is obviously going to be really bad against control. Like your leader, like best case scenario in control shells, like your leader is a 2/6, a 3/6 for 5. And like conditionally getting worse against control. If you can pull off the strategy and go super wide, then the upside is there. You flood the board. Maybe he becomes like a 5/6, a 6/6. I think it would be kind of crazy. And obviously you're pretty limited to the Jedi trait here, with what you play in your deck. I think just the base 1/6 is very ugly to look at, and I think that it's a steep ask to get this deck to be like mid-range viable. But like that leader ability is not bad. 2 damage for a unit, especially like there's like a 1/4 ambusher in yellow that I believe, oh no, that's just a force unit. Either way, like there's ways to enable this and get a lot of value out of it. I think I don't want to put Kit Fisto at D tier. But he he cannot climb very high in C tier, in my opinion. This next one's pretty exciting to me. We have Supreme Leader Snoke, Action 1 Exhaust. Give an experience token to the unit with the most power among friendly villain units. He deploys on 6 as a 4/7. We love it. On attack, give an experience token to the unit with the most power among friendly units. Very, very interesting mechanic to me. It's a pay 1 exhaust. Like, you don't need the force to do it. And it's an interesting contrast to other experience token decks that we've seen before. I think the ceiling for this deck can be like pretty good. It seems very easily punishable once again against control. It obviously like bottlenecks you into pumping up like one unit until that unit gets removed. So, I mean, if you can protect that unit with like sentinels or, like upgrade protection or whatever, that could be a pretty viable strategy. He's a 6 deploy, 4/7, and that ability enables on attack like without cost or anything. I'm definitely going to be like building this very early on into my testing. I want to see like what this deck can really do. And in this shell, like innately you're getting like so many good like mid game units. Vader ambush, Maul ambush, the new 8th Brother ambush looks like pretty decent to me. You've got like this mid-range situation where I think like on his leader flip you can have a pretty nasty board state. I think Snoke belongs in B tier as it stands. Like I said, like pretty punishable in control because eventually like something will be susceptible to like Fell the Dragon, or just like that 1-to-1 removal is going to feel like pretty bad, and you're bottlenecked into like you have to give it to the most power. So there's definitely like a risk reward ratio here that's a little bit more skewed to the high risk, high reward. But against like other mid range, I see this being like pretty strong ability. So I think that's a pretty safe like B tier guess. And next we have the most unique the most unique leader in the game by far, to me at least, and that is this new mono hero Anakin. Action: use the Force. Play a villain non-unit card from your hand, ignoring its aspect penalties. He deploys on 5 as a 4/6. Action: use the Force. Play a villainy non-unit card from your hand, ignoring its aspect penalties. So definitely a wild ability. I do like how they gave him more favorable stats for 5, considering the fact that he is like a mono aspect leader. So like you're missing out on a lot of like cards to play normally. I think the trick will be like trying to figure out which one of which like aspect, because you only get one aspect to play him with your your base decision. Like finding out what the most optimal one is going to be the tricky part. But the upside to this seems pretty remarkable. Being able to like deploy a 4/6 leader and then OB for 6 on the board, like right there, seems pretty good. It allows you to play like some really good 1-to-1 removal cards that Villainy has, like Power of the Dark Side. No glory for like some of those tricky, trickier units that you can't defeat normally, like Chewbacca or like a Lurking Tie or something. And it's just non-unit cards, so like upgrades are included with that. Very interesting. Like a lot of testing is going to need to be done here. I feel like literally just because he has access to like paying 5 for OB, I think he's like an automatic B tier. We'll see how much that single aspect punishes him, but yeah, like overwhelming barrage for 5, and he deploys on 5 as a 4/6. That's good enough. That's good enough for me. We'll see where the testing takes. I think initially, like, yellow is pretty interesting, with the ability to just like pretty consistently get the force token. And green, obviously, I think is where the most draw is, considering like what this set has shown us for what's coming for Hero Green. And just like the units in Hero Green are pretty good. But yeah, I think that's just like a pretty automatic B tier for me. We got Morgan Elsbeth, action exhaust. Choose a friendly unit that attacked this phase. Play a unit from your hand that shares a keyword with the chosen unit. It costs 1 less. She deploys on 5 as a 3/6. On attack, the next unit you play this phase costs 1 less if it shares a keyword with a friendly unit. I'm not so sure about this leader. I think we definitely got a bomb, like that double green 6-drop that like combos off of every keyword. That enables her quite a bit. I'm not particularly sure about like this. Like the ability seems to have like a lot of restrictions, right? The unit has to attack. The unit you play has to share the keyword. So like if you're building this strictly around ambush, I think, you get to enable that like pretty decently. You can like play 2 ambush cards that you normally wouldn't be able to play on curve, or, just being able to have like initiative, swing with a ambush card that's survived, and then you get to play another ambush for cheaper. The conditions are a little bit too strict for me to like, put a lot of my eggs into this basket. But we did get some like decent support. Like we have good ambush units that are coming. I already mentioned A Brother. And then we have, that space unit that has like 5 keywords, ambush, overwhelm, restore. I think I'm missing one, but yeah, I think that this kind of just feels like another C tier leader. Not bad. There's innate value here, at least from a constructed point of view, but I don't think it's gonna be game breaking, so to speak. If you can do it, like use that ability to play like Vader or Maul for 6, obviously that's very strong. So we'll see. Like high ceiling in that regard, but the conditions for her ability are I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. We have come to our other starter deck leader, the Qui-Gon Jinn. Finally, we have a Qui-Gon Jinn leader. He is, as a leader, action, use the Force token, exhaust, return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand, play a non-villain unit that costs less than the returned unit from your hand for free. He deploys on 6 as a 4/7, whoop whoop. And when this unit completes an attack and survives, you may return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand, play a non-villain unit that costs less than the return unit from your hand for free. Lots of words there, but they're good words in my opinion. I think this is a pretty decent ability. In Yellow Hero, you have access to a lot of like ambush stuff. Like being able to like get ambush removal and then pull that unit off and replace it with something that costs less but like could still like bring value. The starter deck is in green, so like in the starter deck, like play something and then like use this ability to bring in Obi-Wan to like give Sentinel and protect everything else. I like this. I also like the idea of like putting some like top end exploit cards in this. I tested that pretty early on. It wasn't a very like reliable combo, but there's that like one exploit. It's like an 8 cost ambush exploit. So like, even just like exploiting 1 for that, pay 6 for it, and then you can use this ability to bring out the new Qui-Gon or like another one of your big 7 drops, at like a turn early. So I like the combo potential there. I like I said, I don't know how reliable that really is. You really kind of have to like set that up. You have to have that unit in your hand, have at least another unit there to like exploit and play off of. I think Qui-Gon is B tier. I don't know. I think this ability can chain off like some pretty nasty board situations. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. This is like kind of a bold call, I think, in my opinion, to put him in B tier. But I think there's like a pretty high ceiling for like getting a lot of value with this ability. Everybody is excited for this new Revan leader, me included. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an experience token to that friendly unit. He deploys on 5 as a 3/6. Restore 1. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may give an experience token to that friendly unit. Mono villain, interesting. Like our first mono villain, and we talked about our first mono hero already. Revan is interesting. I like the Malik support, like the Malik unit to come out alongside this. I like that combo. The idea of just like playing this in red and running like Sith, like mid-range Sith, and then like putting Force Throw and all these other Force units in there, like maybe running like Fortress Vader to like be able to get the Force token. This is, I haven't done a whole lot of testing with Revan or seen like a whole lot with him. The mono hero does like set you back a little bit, obviously, right? But I like this leader. I like the support that's come out around him. I honestly like really don't know where to put him right now. I think like high C, like maybe low B for now. Like I really just like don't know. This we'll have to wait and see on that one, at least for me. All right, this next leader is a bit of an enigma. I think like we've all like immediately tried to test to see if we can get this to work. We have the most expensive leader so far, Avar Kriss. Action: exhaust, the force is with you. Create your force token. She deploys, well, we'll see. If the number of resources you control plus the number of times you use the force this phase is 9 or more, deploy this leader. She deploys as a 4/10, and while the force is with you, this unit gets +4/+0 and gains overwhelm. Whoa. Big stats. So here's the thing. This is like, as soon as I saw this leader, I was like, I have to look into this just with the cards we had at hand. And now that we like seen the whole card pool, we need to see more of this. And like getting this combo optimal to get her out at least 7. Like if you can get her out for at least 7, I think you've got good value here. And the fact that like her leader ability just gives you the force is, a little, I mean, it's a little slow, but like reliable at least. For what I have tested so far, I think the bottleneck for this being good is the lack of options to actually use the force token. Getting the force token, especially with this leader, is like super easy. And if you're using like a 28 health base, like you just have to get that attack in, or like obviously with Avar, you just have to exhaust your leader. You get the force very easily. I think the problem is the resources that you have to spend for the cards you have to play to use the force. I don't think you can combo them very reliably to like, even like using the force twice to get her out on 7. I don't see that as like actually super reliable. Like it takes a like legitimate amount of setup. Um, Now, like one thing to consider here is the fact that the new Yoda unit, legendary for 8, is like a huge stabilizer. Um, where I mean, it, like just like a bomb, and then combos off of using the Force, which may stabilize you into like getting her out on the 8 resource play. Um, but until I see like someone that can like test this to like reliably get her out on 7, which I think, yeah, like I don't think you're getting the full value with this as an 8 deploy. But if you can use the Force twice and get her out for 7, I think you get like a lot of value out of this. And um, so we'll see. I like in the limited testing that I've done with this, that seems like kind of a tall task to be able to use the Force twice reasonably and then get her to deploy. I think you have to. Ugh, it's tough. I'm really tempted to put her in B tier just because like the upside is that you just have this insane leader unit, and also like just the shell that she's in with the cards that have been released, like enable her really well. I think she has to go be like at the top of C tier though. Bring Revan over. Just until, and this is just like a prediction thing, you know. So if someone is able to like really optimally curve this and get her out earlier than 7, like consistently, or on 7 or early, especially earlier than 7, that'd be crazy. Then I think there's like a good chance that she climbs up to B. So now we have Mother Talzin. Obviously, like this is a leader that's meant to be played with a very specific unit set that like combos off of each other. Action, exhaust, use the Force, give a unit -1/-1 for this phase. She deploys on 5 as a 3/7. On attack, you may give a unit -1/-1 for this phase. I haven't played around with this, like the Knight tribal deck of like comboing -1s and -2s and things like that. Like if your combos are popping off, this is obviously like really good against like aggro or like unit centered mid range. As a blue deck, I don't know. I think it's kind of a trap to like play all of these cards and try to combo them off of each other, but then like the combos like never really work out the way you want them to. And -1/-1 can get you some spot removal here and there, but I've seen like some guys in my community are already talking about like playing no disintegrations and then just being able to remove it on your next action as long as it doesn't get protected somehow or healed. So I think this is like pretty middle of the pack, C tier. I don't see anything very exciting about this. Like your biggest upside is that like you're able to get all of your Night Sisters on board and they just like combo all these -1s and minuses, and like your opponent's units are just like worthless. But I don't know how like reliable that strategy really is, how many times like that actually gets to happen. So I was very, very excited when the rumors of Cal Kestis were spreading, and when it became like almost certain that we were getting a Cal Kestis leader, I was ecstatic. And my dreams were perhaps shattered. Action, exhaust, use the Force. An opponent controls a ready unit they control, exhaust that unit. He deploys on 4 as a 3/4. On attack, an opponent controls a ready unit they control, exhaust that unit. A 3/4 for 4 is horrendous. That is a horrendous stat line. I don't why does FFG just keep giving us leaders that just die to open fire? I don't understand. And like the upside on his ability, like they get to choose, like they have 2 units on board. You have to have the force token too, which often means that like the action you take to get the force token is either losing you initiative or you have initiative, but you have to get the force token with your first action. So it's already slow. Yeah, I feel bad. I was really hoping for Cal Kestis. I think he unfortunately goes the way of Ahsoka and ends up being in the D tier. I may be wrong, but like, history tells me that if you have a leader that gets open fired and also like his ability requires the force and it allows your opponent to like choose the unit that they use it on, yeah, I don't see it, which is sad. I love Cal Kestis, but they did him dirty. And last and perhaps least, I don't know, we have the Grand Inquisitor, who is as a leader, action exhaust, use the force token, attack with a friendly unit. The defender gets -2, -0 for this attack. He deploys on 5 as a 3/5. 3/5 shielded. On attack, the defender gets -2, -0 for this attack. Well, we've seen leaders that like give defenders -1, right? Jyn Erso, that's like an unplayable leader from set 1. Probably arguably the worst set 1 leader. And I don't see, like, I think this is like arguably worse than Jyn Erso because you have to use the force for this. Obviously, because of that, it shaves off another point of damage on the defender. And like a 3/5 shielded for 5 is like just barely. I think if he was like a 3/5 shielded on 4, that would be like super interesting. I guess that would be like way too broken because then he just like one shot Sabine if he hit, yeah, like that's like too broken. But I don't particularly find anything exciting about this. It'll be fun to have like the Inquisitor tribal deck. I don't know if that's gonna be any good or not, but I don't see a whole lot of value here. I think he's like bottom C tier, like arguably D tier. We'll see. So that is my list. Obviously, it would appear that I'm a little bit less optimistic about this set. Or, depending on glass half full, glass half empty, maybe I'm like more pessimistic, whatever. I don't think any of these leaders are S tier caliber, at least like at this time of prediction. Kanan feels like it has a lot of upside. Snoke feels like close, but like I said, like that bottlenecking into doing it into one unit, could be a risky strategy. Anakin obviously has crazy upside with being able to like play OB and other really strong like villainy events, and Qui-Gon's ability to like kind of chain units in and out, I think is considerable and requires like more testing, I think, to optimize. Most of those leaders, I think, are just kind of like middle of the pack. I think like Avar has a chance to like move up if we optimize that. I think Revan, potentially like Revan Red with like a force throw discard package could be a very interesting deck to play. I would love to see like if Barriss Offrey, like the spell slinging deck became like really strong. That would be like super interesting to see like crack the meta, although I don't necessarily see it. Everything else just like seems kind of so, and who knows? Like I would love to see like deck builds where like these leaders are surpassing my expectations, especially Elsbeth. I mean, that could, because I love the villainy green, and I think like cheating out those super strong units could be pretty good. Let me know how right or wrong you guys think I am. And yeah, as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.